So Vlad,
Yes, sir. We are back.
I I love battle rap data. I love battle rap stats.
Stat man. Yeah, that's you.
Shout outs to battle rap stats, and also big shout outs to Tim and Dylan. Dylan
Yes,
always
sir.
Dylan always composes our data into beautiful artwork. And Tim is just as crazy as I am about all this. That we put this stuff on spreadsheets. We put this stuff on Microsoft Word doc. You know what I mean? Like we get real deep into the battle rap stats because let's just be honest, man. It's hard to mine
Something's
some of
wrong with y'all. That's why.
it's hard to mine some of this data. Like you just have to really go deep into the trenches and trying to find certain things. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So I was looking at it like, all right, I love the NBA draft, right? I'm not gonna front. It's very difficult to keep up with all the prospects year by year. Some will stay in your memory, some will leave. But you know as well as I do, Vlad, I randomly just call you up one day, like, Vlad, you remember the 2008 draft? You remember the 2009 draft? And then we just start I just start naming like 10, 15 names in that draft. You're like, it wasn't a bad draft. This is a good draft. Oh, yeah. And you know,
how many All-Stars came from this draft? Look how many defensive players came from this draft. It's not as bad as they said it was.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite part, to retroactively look back at it always. But, you know, at the end of the day, retroactively looking at things, it's like the next best thing to sliced bread, right? It's so easy to say, I should have bought that.
Paper.
I should have bought that stock. You know, I had knew that stock was going up.
I told y'all Amazon was going to go through the roof.
You know,
I told y'all.
So this isn't necessarily I told you so kind of thing. This is more of just actually putting it into perspective. So the draft in sports, you get to look back at all these years of athletes to get drafted, their years, their class, who they were, where they were prospected, where they landed, were they under the radar, were they overrated, where was the spotlight too bright, did they meet expectations? So in URL, they have their own kind of draft process, proving grounds. And a lot of people get it confused when they talk about PG classes. They don't necessarily know what person falls into what year, what's the category, how you separate this. So the PG started in 2011, and we're going to close off this decade with 2019. So I mined an entire decade of all PG data, Vlad.
This is amazing. Yo, when you presented this data to me, I was like, what the hell? This is crazy. And to see the list of names that made it through this process, to see the amount of people that went through the PG process, and to think about who actually made it to become stars or relevant battlers, like, it was mind-boggling, dog. I was sitting there like, this is crazy. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no, the PG guide is really remarkable when you put it all on paper. It says a lot about the people that broke out and had successful battle rap careers. It speaks a lot about the work ethic that Norbs did put into recruiting talent, going around the country looking for people, and even internationally at one point too. So
yeah, the Lemon joint.
I want to first clarify the PG draft, right? So it starts from 2011.
The timeline was going crazy, man, when you put this joint out, and I think this is a great opportunity to really put everything into perspective and have everyone totally understand what the visuals meant.
Oh, we have a ton of data. Like what we put out was just pretty much just an appetizer, honestly.
Yeah, tip of the iceberg.
Really, it really was. Because if you're mining all these years and we're saying who are the top 5 standouts for each year, you know, we're just retroactively looking at things and picking people apart. But let's take it from the top, right? So I have all these years, 2011 to 2019. I want to first say, if you did a PG in a calendar year and the following year you graduated to the main stage, you're a part of that PG class. So if you do a PG in 2013 and you end up still in the PG process 2014, 2015, but you don't get on the main stage till 2016, you haven't
graduated.
You're on the 2015 class because that was the last year you did a PG. It's literally like graduation at school. Like, you know, you don't graduate until you have that class of people you walk the podium with, you know what I mean? And just like the draft, if you can elect to go to the draft, but if you don't get drafted, are you part of that class? No.
Exactly.
You know, so that's how I broke it down. So you'll see a lot of repeat names. You'll see a lot of guys that did PGs over the years or came back at a later time and they're part of a certain class. You'll say to yourself, like, wait, they did a PG way in the past. Yeah, but they didn't graduate, so they're still a proving ground artist. They have to come back and get it done. So that's how the classes are broken up. First, Vlad, before we even get into the names and the years and the areas and how this expanded, because there's so much to unpack with this, bro, that like even with this data in front of me, like I'm overwhelmed. First,
let's do it. Let's get it crack-a-lackin'.
I want to run down the amount of artists that were scheduled for a PG every single year. Now, I want to highlight this. Disclaimer. Every single artist that we pulled data from is documented from flyers and obviously overlooked by Norbs. Obviously, there might be some artists that may have been swapped out, may have no-showed, but if you were booked and you're on a flyer, that means you were scheduled to have a proving ground battle. Whether you attended or not, it's a different story. I can't keep track of that, and I don't even think Norbs himself can keep track of that. So some numbers, maybe, I don't want to say jaded, but just put a ballpark or any number we're going to throw out there, okay?
Let's do it.
Keep that open-mindedness. 2011, there was a total of 8 artists that did a PG.
That's it?
2012, a total of 12 artists did a PG.
Okay.
2013, a total of 18 artists did a PG. 2014, a total of 35 artists did a PG.
Oh, just open up the floodgates there.
It doubled. This is where it gets crazy. 2015, a total of 93 artists did a PG. It almost tripled at that moment. 2016, a total of 96 artists.
Okay.
2017, 71 artists. 2018, 111 artists.
Damn. Artists. Sound like one of them old school New York. These my artists.
I should say MCs. I should say MCs from the get. But 2018, 111 MCs scheduled for a PG. 2019, 138 MCs.
Damn.
So
obviously, rappers.
Obviously, all these rappers grouped up is still ballpark, but in total, it comes out to 582 artists that were scheduled to have a proving ground battle over the last decade. Out of that 582, I want to say personally, it's probably close to like 530. This is me guesstimating. I'm gonna knock off 50 names here at the very least, right? So maybe 530 people attended a PG over the last decade. Mm-hmm. Now, Vlad, what really sparks my mind is that the jump. Because 2011 and 2012, you have very notable names. 8 artists, 8 MCs, 12 MCs.
Super selective.
Very selective. So it's a total of 20 MCs. And out of those 20 MCs, you left with about 10 solid names. So at that moment, you're
shooting 50%.
You're shooting 50% from the field. 2013 is probably one of the weakest drafts ever. We'll get into that. 2014 is the beginning of the UFF. So that's where you really got a lot of interesting stars. But after 2014 and on, I don't want to say it got oversaturated, but that's when URL took it to the road. They went to Vegas. They went to the UK. They went to Ohio. What are the other these states? Milwaukee. You know what I mean? They went to all these small markets, and I'm not sure they got anything out of it other than just the opportunity to present the case. What do you think about the explosion?
It got crazy when you started to look at the numbers of who actually transitioned from PG to, main stage or URL mainstay, shall I say. Guys who, even if they didn't make the main stage, they were on different cards, various cards, more than 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. So that to me is when you become successful at it. So if you're looking at the first 2 years and you're talking about 50% of the guys became guys who stayed around and hung around and became notable voices in the league, then after that, when the people hear the percentages of cats who actually made it through and became mainstays at URL, I think they're going to be shocked, man. So is it that the quality of MCs went down, or is it that the selection became a lot more pickier, or however you decide to put a twist on it? You can definitely realize that, it became a lot tougher to make this URL roster than it was before. It's kind of crazy once you hear the numbers.
Yeah, the raw numbers obviously are a little eye-popping, and it makes you realize how much groundwork was done. So with the groundwork, you say to yourself, well, was there a concentrated effort on quantity over quality at this point? Which is a fair assessment to say, because you know, your first couple years, you kept the pool really small, but you left with a lot of quality names. That some are still around to this day. Once the floodgates start to open, you're lucky to walk away with 2 or 3 stars per draft.
Right. And it's like, then, you know, for a while, people were like, yo, we keep on seeing the same names. We keep on seeing the same names on these cards. They keep getting recycled. And they're like, well, you got all these PG guys. Why do people keep getting recycled? Are these guys trash? Like, are they not good enough? Or whatever the situation is. But the numbers do show, like, yo, it is difficult to become a star in this day and age in battle rap.
So check this out, Vlad. Obviously, if comparing URL to the air quote NBA, right? Just for everybody listening, if you get drafted into the NBA, obviously your number one goal is to what? Win a championship, make it to the finals. I always say the final stages of URL are the Gnomes and Summer Madnesses. Yeah. And I guess recently added now Volume Series, right? Because Volume has become a premier card with thousands of eyes watching it. So
anything that's pay-per-view, is
not anything that's pay-per-view, because you'll have some outskirt events too that are pay-per-view. But but those are the premier events, right?
Right.
Those are the premier events. So to make it to a Gnome or Summer Madness from the PG is a very scale like accomplishment. Only 23 MCs in the decade of Proving Ground process have made it to a Gnome, Summer Madness, or Smack Volume.
Damn, that's 23 out of roughly 530.
Yeah, so that's probably like close to 4%. And if you take out Smack Volume, if you want to say, well, just Gnome or Summer Madness because those are the 2 staple cards, right? It's fine. I'll take that. You lower the list from 23 to 18. So only 18 MCs from the PGs have made it to a Gnome or Summer Madness.
Wow. That's nuts.
It's kind of staggering.
That's nuts, man. You have got to be an incredible rapper to make it from the PGs to Gnome or Summer Madness. It's shocking at the numbers, man.
So to lighten it up a little bit, I guess, right? This is where you can kind of lighten it up. So Gnome and Summer Madness are what we call the main stage. Probably over 1,000 in attendance, staple events to the brand, to the league. But obviously, there's a lot of significant events as well. You have like your Genesises, your Resolutions, your
Traffics on the West Coast,
your Traffics, your Impact cards, your 2-on-2s, right? Your Born Legacy Supremes that are pay-per-view events. So you have a handful of events that are like, okay, this is a little bit above the mid-level, but it's a step right below the main level. So it's like a subplot or subcategory of a main stage, which is fair. You know, you can have people that reach that, and that is a successful point to reach. Like reaching a Traffic card is a point of success. Even if you don't touch Gnome or Summer Madness, Traffic is something to pat yourself on the back for. So if you're gonna open up
the West Coast equivalent,
right? So if you're gonna open up the floodgates to all level main stage events, right? I'm gonna list them out for you actually, so that way we don't get this confused. We have Summer Madness, Gnome, Volume Series, Traffic, Born Legacy Supreme, Rookies versus Vets, because technically shit, as a staple, and any Impact cards. When I say Impact, I mean Double Impact, Summer Impact, because they're essentially the same theme. The numbers kind of jump up a little bit more. You have 35 MCs from the PGs that touch any level main stage, which is probably roughly about 6% of your total recruitment process. So that's a little bit more like, okay, well, we've given the chance to a lot of other guys. So think about this. Gnome, Summer Madness, 18. All level main stage is 35. That's about, you cut it in half. It's about half the guys you put on the main stage to see if they can make it to that next leap. Only half of those guys can convert. At that moment, it becomes a whole variety of things to talk about. Is it skill? Is it fan base? Is it brand? Is it ceiling?
Is it politics? Like, what goes on behind?
Probably all of the above. What's your take?
My take is that it's really tough to make it to that upper echelon of battle rap where you are one of those main stage guys. Just like in basketball, it's like basketball. there's only a certain amount of guys who are going to make it out of the draft and become all NBA premier players. You've got a lot of players who are good players, make great highlights, who are local stars or whatever. But at the end of the year, when you've got those 5 guys on the East and 5 guys on the West who are first team all NBA, and you look at the amount of guys who've been drafted over the course of the last 11 years or 9 years, whatever, in basketball, I think the numbers, they might be on par to this. So it goes to show you, like, it's super tough, you know, because that's the only way that I can make the equivalence, really, because, you know, you got a lot of guys who don't even get drafted who might end up going to NBA Finals based off circumstance, being on the right team at the right time on the right year. So you can't really count that as the stages. So to me, it's really basing it on who's first team All-NBA, who's second team All-NBA, or who's All-Pro in football based upon the number of guys who get drafted in football out of all of those years. And you'll realize that no matter what, it is mad hard to make it to the upper echelon of no matter what field you're in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you magnify the prospects that, you know, something like the NBA would do, right? 60 guys are being drafted out of what, Vlad? Tens of thousands of players in college.
Hell yeah, yeah.
And in URL, 500 guys have probably made it out of, there's over 17,000 battlers in the world. I would like to at least think that maybe 9 to 10,000 of them are in the U.S.
Yep.
So, one thing's for sure, having moderate success on URL is nothing to scoff at. And it's unfortunate because, like, obviously, battle rap is still a niche culture. It's still a sublet of hip-hop. So the guys that touch the Band Legacies, the Born Legacies, the Survivor Series, in essence, they're successful because they were what you want to air quote call the role players of the league. But role players have a part in all this too, don't they? I'm sorry, you don't listen.
No, go ahead.
You don't win a championship with 10 All-Stars on your team.
It definitely doesn't happen.
You win with 2 and 8 glue guys.
And listen, man, role players, some of y'all still making millions of dollars in the NBA. When you go to the club and the strip club, you're throwing more money than the regular guys next to you. You're still 6'7". You're still getting all of the treasures that all the other guys get when you guys go out. So you're still living a good life compared to a regular ass citizen when you're thinking about it. So you got to enjoy it, and everything has to be into perspective, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, I haven't narrowed this part down. Obviously, we have 35 MCs that have made a main stage, 18 that have touched the final stage, so like 18 that's made an appearance on the premiere,
Noma Summer Madness.
Noma Summer Madness. So I will have to eventually narrow down out of those guys who are superstars, right? Like, who are guys that have headline cards. And I'm sure that's gonna be a very interesting, staggering number. Because obviously, look, this is just one part of the PG guy. The PG guy is going to go on for a very long time. It's ongoing. I would love to talk to a lot of the guys that are in the process, that have had moderate success, that had trial and error, they've made it very far, you know. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's a tough thing, man, because I think back to, I'm going to go way, way back on you, friends. Remember UCLA when they was on fire? They had the O'Bannon brothers. Ed O'Bannon, he was like one of the first guys. He tried to sue EA Sports to get his likeness and to get his bread from them back in the days. And they were like, yo, this guy was crazy. He was going ham back in the days in college. Dude made it to the NBA, was there for a couple years, and then never heard from him again. And there's so many guys out there who are like that. It's like, during the come-up process, you're like, oh, my gosh, this guy's going to be the next this, the next that. And then they get placed next to the real super talented players. And then for whatever reason, whether it's coaching or whether it's their discipline or their ability to transition, or maybe the game is just too fast for them at that level, you really start to see like, yo, it's a whole other ball game coming from your local league where you might be the man. You might be battling in some league in West Virginia and you're just crushing all the competition. And then you go, all right, let me go from West Virginia to the DMV. And then from the DMV league, maybe you're drafted up into the PGs. And then you might even look all right there. But then when they put you on them stages, dog, and you have to perform in front of the bright lights and the big crowds and even the medium to small crowds, you start to see that, it's not as easy as it looks, dog.
Yeah, no. I think this in itself probably deserves an entire series, a collection, because we will be doing this data injustice to try to summarize every single year in 5 minutes. But you're right, Vlad. Like, it's almost like you have these talents, and at the time period, a lot of you and I remember because we were there. A lot of these guys were highly rated. And as time progressed, you're like, oh, they may have peaked early, or they failed, and they've never really succeeded after a low turning point, you know?
Right. Now, with that being said, France, let's go back retroactively and look from year to year and see who were the top 5 guys once that graduating year happened. Once they made the league, like, hey, listen, I'm done with my PG, and now I'm going to these URL cards. So let's go back and take a look at some of these drafts and see who was the mans in 2011, 12, 13, 14, all the way on up, player.
Yeah, I love this because, disclaimer, this is us obviously retroactively looking at the talent pool that's available of that draft year, of that PG class year, and saying who are the top 5 most talented guys that come out of this. And I mean, talented means you had all the potential in the world too, and you were a bust. Like we we take that into consideration, right? Because like there's plenty of guys that had really good expectations. Maybe they live up to it, and there's a lot of guys that fell under the radar that at this current time are fire.
Facts.
All right, let's start with the dream team, right? The dream class. Arguably
team of PGs.
Arguably the best PG class of all time, and it still has not to be topped, which is the first one.
An argument?
I'm going to name all the guys in this class because it's a small class. Bill Collector,
right.
B Magic, JC, John the Don, M City, Clean Paper, Rosenberg Raw, and Time Bomb. Now this class between John the Don, one of the greatest, or the greatest PG of all time, I should say. Let me correct myself. JC, one of the best from the Midwest. B Magic, one of the top 3 best punchers of all time. Bill Collector, one of the top performers of all time. You got 4 guys that like made their mark in history there. Then you can just toss it up between Rosenberg Raw, who's a workhorse, or QP, who had all the potential in the world.
Yeah. Who had dope highlights over the years.
I remember this. This is how I remember 2011. We like QP's potential way more than Rosenberg Raw's potential. That's how I remember it.
QP was the man to be talked about after his 2 battles from that PG class. Raw was like, yo, this kid is dope, and he's definitely got a future too. But I remember the ceiling was so high for QP. It was like, yo, this dude got the charisma. He's got punches. He's got performance. He's captivating. He's exciting. Who knows where this guy... And he had that realism and that street talk that you need. And he was hella unique at the time, too. So his ceiling was through the roof.
Is there a world where you would take Rosenberg... If you go back, you would take Rosenberg Raw over QP if you had to draft top 5 guys out this draft?
Not at that time. At that time, I would have been like, if I was the GM, I'd be like, yo, I needs me a QP. You know what I'm saying? I needs me a QP right there. Let's get this cat. Let's draft him.
I'm not calling... You know what? Forget it. I don't even want to make that analogy. I don't even want to make that analogy.
I'll do that off air.
Yeah, I was gonna make an analogy about like a guy that's like, you have to draft him at number 1. And like as the season goes on, you're like, oh, look, this guy was better. Like, I don't care if he's better. I don't care.
Because it's at the time. You can't go back, you know?
Right. So this is all the people I'm thinking about who were the most talented at the time that I had to stand out. 2012, lad, another promising class that I feel like, runs its course with 2011. A small class, I'll name it all. Big K, Cash Eaton, Chilla Jones, Danger Zone, Half Past 7, Ill Will, Johnny Alcatraz, K Holla, Newborn, Super Rider, throwback, Tone Montana, and Vici.
And who?
Vici from Dot Mob.
Oh, I thought you said Geechee. I was like,
Vici.
No, I remember him. Yeah, Zip him up. Yeah, the Italian Bowl.
So our top 5 guys, our top 5 talented, Feel free to dispute, by the way, Vlad. Everybody knows this came to a conclusive vote between the staff of LTBR.
Sure.
So if whatever we put out there at the end of the day was just like the final product of all of us bashing our heads together, but you're on the air. You disagree?
Oh yeah, now we gonna get it, player. We gonna get it.
2012, Ill Will, Chilla Jones, Big K, Danger Zone, and Tone Montana were the top 5 picks from the 2012 PG class. Any disputes?
I might. All right. Who were the other guys outside of that?
You had Cash Eaton, Half Past 7, Johnny Alcatraz, Newborn. Like, I'm not really sure who I would swap Tone Montana with.
Yeah, that was the only questionable pick, and I'm even thinking back to the time. I don't think I'd swap any of those guys out for him.
You might have been able to make a case for Newborn at the time because you're like, yo, Newborn's experienced. Why is he at this level?
But he was crazy was that Newborn already battled Calico and he battled Lux from before. So you're like, why is this guy even in the PGs at the time?
So it worked. It kind of worked out like Bricks, right? Which we'll get to way later on in another draft, closer to 2018. Bricks was somebody that's like, he's experienced with a resume. Why is he back at this level? So one part of you says, well, he's experienced. He should be able to get through this. The other part is like, wait. If he's back here, that's concerning.
Yeah, what's crazy too is that you think about Johnny Alcatraz, and I know everyone remembers his battle with Ill Will and him getting bodied. But before that, dude was pretty dope, and he was someone that people were looking at like, yo, this kid's got a lot of promise. But when you get bodied in a PG battle, it's difficult to really vote you into the top 5 of that class.
I concur, sir. I absolutely concur. 2013 PG class. I think personally, Vlad, this is the weakest PG class of all time. That's just my opinion. Bold take. This class consists of Adi Boom, D Gunna, D Money, Danny Myers, GE, High Double, J Rel, KG the Poet, Mr. Wavy, Piranha, Prez Mafia, Snow, Steams, Ty Law.
That's crazy.
Our top
some of
5
those names still around, but some of those names you don't even hear from anymore.
Our top 5 from the 2013 PG class: Danny Myers, Mr. Wavy, Adi Boom, Ty Law, and Prez Mafia.
Yeah, I think we got that about right.
I think so too. I mean, Snow is somebody that's worth saying, because Snow and Ty Law put on that really dope PG battle.
Right.
But
anytime you got a great white hope up in there, it's always like, hey, can he be the one to break through? Be that white URL star? Is it going to happen? And then you get a bunch of your mother. And then
I just remember Adi Boom being one of those guys that's like, oh, he's unique, right? Danny Myers is a workhorse. And I'm not going to lie, at the time, Danny Myers didn't have that pizzazz yet. He battled John out in Vegas. So it was kind of like, okay, well, we have a little bit of a radar on this guy. But he actually had to really earn his name like everybody else still. Even though he had all this experience battling in the streets for almost a decade before that.
You know what's crazy, though? I felt like his most promising times definitely came post his PG run.
Absolutely.
You know? Like some guys had... It's crazy when you think about it. Some guys had that flash while they were PGs, and then afterwards it was like, so-so. But after his PG run and then going around from KOTD and then all around the country and then back on the URL, and even on his UFF stint, he had a rough patch there. But Danny has managed to be one of those veteran soldiers who's like survived and actually made a name for himself out here in these streets. And like, yo, man, at this point in time, he's a West Coast legend, B. Don't agree? Danny Myers is not a West Coast legend?
I didn't say anything. I'm letting you just get your take off.
All right, play it. Take over. What is the Migos, man? Mama!
I'm looking forward to Danny Myers having his first platinum battle real soon for his career. 2014.
Let's get it.
2014 PG class. This is where it gets a little interesting because they stacked the deck here, right? They damn near doubled the last 2 years. They said, okay, we found some names. Now we're finding more youth, right? Mm-hmm. And our top 5 guys from the 2014 class are also the guys from UFF. T-Top, Briz Rothstein, The Saga, Chess, and Prep. But there are some other notable names that kind of got left off. Tink the Demons in this draft. St. Mike is in this draft. Jim was almost in this draft. He didn't graduate. Dot was in this draft.
You know what's crazy?
Dot!
Thinking
Dot!
what that mean? Determination over trust. When you're thinking about ceilings and who can survive in this game, I really like Tink the Demon over Prep because I feel like Tink the Demon's style, delivery, and unique persona of being like, I don't know what he worships, what he's into, but we all know it's to the left. You know what I'm saying? And there's an audience for that horrorcore lyrical stuff also. I feel like Tink the Demon might be more sustainable than a Prep at this time. Even though he's been gone for a minute, so we can't watch him battle, obviously, if he's in jail. But I feel like, the chances that Prep has gotten, if Tink the Demon was to continue on and continue to have gotten those chances, he probably still would have been around on that circuit. I mean, he might be like kind of like where Mike P is right now. You know what I mean? Like someone who's definitely that you're going to acknowledge but doesn't always make all of the premiere stages that URL has all the time, but you can call on him and he's going to give you great quality material. So if I had to change anything, I probably would fight for Tink over Prep.
Fair case, but there's a handful of names that you could swap out as well. Excel is a part of this draft.
Yeah, I'm not swapping that out.
I'm just throwing it out there, Vlad. Young X is a part of this draft.
Get him.
So I mean, for me personally, Tink over Prep. Yeah, I like Tink more now, but I like Prep more then.
It's funny. I think I like Tink more back then too, because obviously we're going for back then. We can't go for who has developed into the better artist, because then we can change this whole script or whatever. But even back then, I think I was into more of Tink stuff than Prep stuff.
I think
a long banana.
One thing I've noticed so far, we're 4 years in. Every single year, you have like maybe 3-4 locks of like, oh, these guys have to pop, right? Like
Facts,
these three guys have to make it somewhere. Like even last year when we talked about 2013, like Prez, Adi, and Wavy were supposed to like make it. Adi had to sit down. Prez was Prez, and Wavy tried for a bit of time.
Right.
2014, we just named 4 guys that are probably top 10, 20 battlers to this day in Top, Briz, Saga, and Chess.
Draft.
Not a bad draft at all. Arguably one of the best as well, right next to 2011. Any love for Dot? He was different.
He was different, but I think I saw through everything with Dot. Like, he's entertaining at the time, might make you laugh, but I didn't think he was going to be someone that was going to be one of those guys come down, in the future years. Like, I never was oversold on Dot. What Dot did have was he believed in his bars. No matter how good they were, how bad they were, he believed in it, which you just wish that a lot of guys who have better writing ability would believe in their bars as much as he did. That's what he definitely had. He had that conviction no matter what.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 2015, Vlad. Our top 5 picks from 2015. Av, Mike P, Emerson Kennedy, Dre Dennis, and Jerry West. Let me get this out the way.
Bro.
Let me get this out the way. Most underrated class of URL of all time.
It's a strong class, man. These guys turned out to be damn good.
And can I name some more people that came out this class?
Let's go, champ.
Shocks the Rebel was a part of this class.
Oh, shout out to Shocks.
Yeah, shout outs to Shocks. Gaddafi Green.
UK.
Bangs.
Yeah.
Kelly Smooth.
Yeah.
Dialect.
Yeah.
Jonai.
Yeah.
This is a really underrated. Our favorite.
These are some really good. And when I say Second Circuit, I just want everyone to understand. Like, Second Circuit just means non-URL, but really dope leagues. And a lot of these guys made their names around a lot of these secondary leagues, man.
Hey, our favorite
dope
guy.
Dope content, dope material.
One of our favorite guys at LTBR. None.
Yeah. One of the best comebacks in URL history, man.
As much as we love as much as we love Nun, we can all admit he wasn't a top 5 talent at the time.
Not at that time, yeah.
So we're not gonna retroactively be like, I was always on the Nun.
Top 5.
I was always on the Nun train. Hey. Fuck you, Jack boy.
Yo. Yo, but that's a tough class though, man. Not mad at that.
Really good class. I love it personally. That's one of my favorites. The 2016, Vlad, this actually has an argument to being one of the best classes as well. Like, 2011, 2014, 2016. This is like a real dominant year for making history, making a big splash into the battle rap market. And this is where I felt like personally that the process fully changed. Like between 2011 and 2014, it was all really about like, are you good? Right? 2015 and 2016 was like, do you have the format to be on URL? Because by that moment, URL already had 5 gnomes, 5 summer madnesses. They're already established, so there have to be a certain level of like delivery, a certain tone, a certain bit of content, the way you compose yourself as a battler to make it to the stage. So by that moment, everybody says, all right, well, copy paste.
Right. Yeah, you got a lot of templates to pick from.
Yeah, 2016, our top 5 guys, and it got controversial because there's a handful of names you can swap it.
Ooh, sure did get controversial.
New Jersey
timeline going back and forth, boy.
New Jersey Twerk and Geechee Gotti is part of the draft. That's all you need to know.
That's all.
Chef Trez is part of this draft.
Hello.
Jack Boy and Rod is part of this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Snake Eyes is a part of this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Craig Lamar is a part of this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Fettuccine 20.
Mm-hmm.
Ishmula. Drugs. Glueasy. Reaper Rel. Stewie Newton.
A lot of names,
man. Who else is part of this is really stand out? Oh, one guy that was supposed to be a part of this that didn't make the cut, and it would have been very interesting. This is going to be the biggest sliding doors what if moment. A-Ward was scheduled for a PG in 2016. He would have been a part of this draft.
I easily would have been top 5 if you would have made that.
If only, right? If only.
Facts. Now, France, you had an interesting back and forth on the timeline with Snake Eyes, and he was making his case that he should have been top 5. And would you like to tell the people how that exchange went on the timeline, man? And had that when I say argument, I just mean discussion. Everyone stayed respectful and
debate.
all that.
You can say debate.
Yeah, respectful debate.
Okay, I'll say this.
What was it? What was it like?
First, I want to give a salute to Snake Eyes for being a part of such a deep talent pool just all these names I picked at the time period, you could go no wrong. Like if you took all these names and jumbled it up at the time, like you were okay. Like people weren't going to argue with your draft board at the time. Geechee Gotti's name wasn't even spelled correctly on flyers back in the day. How about that?
That's crazy.
So, I think Snake just really wanted his recognition, letting it be known like, hey, listen, this is probably the last draft that made noise, because every other draft after that gets kind of weak with just like 1 or 2 prominent names coming out of it, and this one had such potential. So obviously, somebody like Jack Boy, Ryder, Snake, Glue, Fetty, they're all talented MCs. They're all really good at the time period. Like they were on schedule to be better than what they, I guess, were projecting to be. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like nobody expected prospects to be that good at this at that level. You know what I mean? So it's like your rookie year, you're dropping 19 a game. It's like, oh shit, I thought you were gonna drop like 8 or 10 a game. You're dropping 19 as a rookie. Great. Let's see if we can turn you into an all-star. And that's what it really was with Snake Eyes, Jack Boy, Ryder, all these guys. Can we turn you guys into all-stars? For me personally, looking back at it, right, you can easily say Geechee, Twerk, Chef Trez, they're locks. Like they're top 3 locks. You're not going. You're not moving.
Yeah, you're not getting those guys out of there.
It's like this past draft, right? Zion, Ja, RJ. That's it. These top 3 guys are solidified going number 1, 2, and 3. Can't move it. Can't move it. Ryder, I don't want to dismiss the fact that Ryder was supposed to almost be projected to be better than Twerk at the time.
Wow.
You remember the talks of how like Ryder's PG was with Chef Trez? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Chef Trez is way more experienced. Chef Trez just battled Magic DNA. He's dominated bullpen. This is second time coming back to the PGs, but Ryder somehow looked way more seasoned and in control.
After that Scorpion stance performance, like the talk was through the roof about Ryder.
And I mean,
at that point in time, the talk was crazy about Ryder.
Look, people will debate it. I'm just gonna go by consensus, and when I say consensus, I'm gonna say Twitter consensus. I'm gonna say YouTube comment consensus. I'm gonna list where I'm getting my consensus from. Snake Eyes and Ryder, the people had a winner for that, and it wasn't Snake. Mm-hmm. I thought the battle was pretty good. As far as back and forth, the best back and forth that year was Ryder and Chef Trez.
Facts.
You know, that's just me. And with Jack Boy, one thing for sure, whether you like them or not, he was a breath of fresh air. Nobody was rapping.
Had a distinct style.
Nobody was rapping like Jack.
Do your shit.
Right.
Do your shit.
You know, I bust him out. Marvin comes to the street, all those lights. Like, he made a moment in the PGs.
Facts.
Vlad,
difficult to do.
A lot of the guys I named, right? Reaper, Fetty, Glue, Jack, you know, would you pick all these guys over Snake as the fifth guy?
Going back to that year, I might see the thing with Snake is that his performances, he was against Black Mugga, and then what's the other Philly guy who he battled? He dominated those guys. You know, he dominated those guys. So it's like you dominate two guys and you have a back and forth with Ryder where, you know, Ryder might have gotten the best of you. It still says something. If you're on that level, the what you're supposed to do is dominate and show like, yo, I'm clearly better than the guys who I'm battling. It's time for me to move on. You know, because you can't pick and choose who you battle at that point. They're just like, yo, battle this guy, battle that guy. Got him out of there and got into a tough fight with Ryder. So he made his case.
Yeah, I definitely think he made his case. Your top three, Twerk, Geechee, Trez, they're not going anywhere. Is your fourth man Ryder?
If we're going at that year, yeah, at that year.
So is your fifth man? Let me tell you the selection you have for your fifth man: Snake Eyes, Jack Boy, Glue Easy, Fettuccine 20. Where you going, Vlad?
I think it comes down to Snake and Jack. And for me personally, just the style of rap that I like and just what they were doing at that point in time, I was more into Snake style. And I think I'm still more into Snake style. And, you know, this is only strictly for that year because we've seen how they've both developed since then, their ups, their downs. But for me personally, for the style of rap that I like and the content that they were delivering and how they were delivering it, at that point in time, I was into more of what Snake was doing than what Jack was doing.
Hey, listen, I think there's no wrong answer, personally.
I hear you, player.
Because Fetty was a machine. Mm-hmm. Fetty was an absolute machine, and I personally feel bad that he just doesn't get the looks he deserves because, as far as skill, he's there. Maybe performance, maybe presence. It's a little dull on the ear, but if you're talking skill and lyricism, he can bang with anybody.
Right, and I mean, no matter what, man, if you're in the argument for the top five, man, then you did something right, and hopefully you're still doing something right.
You know, Dougie was part of this class as well, and Dougie had a huge fan base.
Yeah, then he battled Twerk. Yeah, man.
Well said.
Close out that year.
Hey, I do have a cool stat about 2016 that I'm gonna double back when we do another pod about all the years, breaking it down more in depth. But 2016 was the year with the most MCs that reached the main stage.
Fire.
So let it be known, Snake. You know, flowers to you and your entire class because everybody was made to just break out here and be superstars. You know, and we got two. We got two out this class, so you know you can't be mad at it. Yeah. 2017, Vlad. Not as controversial, but a couple names felt slighted. Our top 5 picks of 2017: B-Dot, who did a PG; R Streets, who was a hot commodity at the time; Mac Myron, who was also a hot commodity at the time; Franchise, and Fonz. Now, this draft has a handful of real interesting names. You got Dre Vicious on this. You got The Spot, The Kid Clutch, Holmesy's on this. Jade made her appearance here. A couple other names: Lady Flames, Lex.
Yeah.
Mr. Mills, Cuban, Mac Mel. You know, a handful of guys: Truth Watson, Young Grizz, Zigzag. A lot of guys here that you can make an argument for, you know, obviously, but I just remember.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just remember this much about this year. R Streets was the talk of the town. Mac Myron was a guy that's like, why isn't he getting more plates? And Franchise was like, hey, I'm getting Tay-Rock feel from Franchise.
Right. I mean, I can mix and match Dre Vicious somewhere in there, just because I feel like he had a dope West Coast style, and his delivery was just so damn believable. And, you know, I just felt like he was just fire. Our Streets, man, I can't say I was ever that big on him. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say that I was at that time.
Hey, listen, I'm okay with preference, but Vlad, we can all admit R Streets was that name.
Yeah, he had a name. But I'm just saying, for me personally,
you see how easy it is. You see how easy it is to distract you.
Yeah, with the boobs. No,
I mean, the first time he did it, because the one with the boobs, he ran it back.
When we do a consensus and we bust it down like that, so you know that's why we go back and forth, man, and try to figure this thing out.
All right, cool. Still rolling over there?
Yes, sir. Of course. You know it, man.
Okay, cool. I thought we had some technical difficulties, but no.
I kept it going, player.
R Streets was a prominent name. Moon was also part of this draft. You know.
Yeah. He had a good battle.
Look, B-Dot is head and shoulders above everybody here, right?
Yes, sir.
So like that's solidified. You take B-Dot at number 1. If you don't take B-Dot at number 1, the GM's gonna fire you.
Right.
Fonz, we always like Fonz.
Fonz is just so technically sound and dope, man. Like, I'm not removing him from that class at all. Like, there's no one that's taking him out from that.
Franchise spot for me stays there as well.
Yeah, I think it's solidified.
I think the only spot you could probably argue is R Streets, but R Streets had a really big buzz. He was supposed to be that guy. I argue all the time. I argue that they pushed him too fast, and that's why they lost him.
Listen, man, everyone who they believe in, everyone who they believe that can become a star, they always push you right out the door, man, and see if you could do your thing.
Yeah, I guess so, right? Because it's like you put them against a certain, like there's tiers of vets, right? There's certain vets that's like, all right, this vet is going to push your pen, but he's not performance heavy. This vet is performance heavy, but he doesn't have the lyricism. So you're going to find out what holes you can exploit against this vet and find out what works for you on the stage. When they put R Streets against Danger Zone, it was just kind of like, wait, wasn't this supposed to be on Survivor Series 5 weeks from now? Why are you pushing it up? Why are you forcing these guys to write faster than they have to? Danger Zone's more experienced than R Streets. He can handle this pressure. R Streets probably can't.
I mean, it was in his hometown. It's a big chance. And they're taking a big chance on you.
Sir,
I want to see, can you be one of those guys? Can you sell some ticks? Can you deliver? Can you perform in front of your hometown, in front of a big crowd? Yo, that crowd wasn't that small, man. That was, 700, 800 people up in there?
I must remind all the listeners, Vlad, a very dark thing that we try to sweep under the rug.
Uh-oh.
You and I picked R Streets to beat Danger Zone.
Yes, we did. We did.
Listen, don't get off.
What was I smoking? I know we did.
Don't get off the R. Listen, bro, don't try to get off the R Streets train now. We were on the R Streets. We bought round trip passes for the R Streets train.
Round trip tickets, man. Ugh. Wow, boy, I looked crazy after that battle happened, man.
You know,
It became a meme, son.
He never battled again.
No, didn't he come back one time?
It was scheduled to. I don't know, but I didn't hear nothing about it. We would have known. We would have known.
That's crazy.
2018 draft, another weak draft with like one MC that's head up shoulders above everybody. We got Loso, Don Marino, Bad News, Jada Nightwing, and Gunpowder Pat. Handful of interesting names coming out of this. You had Benji Lowe, Briggs, Bubble Ford, Butter from the Block, Coffee Brown. Obviously, there's a lot more names than I'm naming. I'm just running through some.
Right.
Gage.
But you know what, friends? From the top 5, though, that we have here, I feel like it's still a solid group of MCs who are quite unique, you know, to one another and to the rest of their class, who I still feel like they still got room to become like a dope performer. Like Loso's clearly doing his thing. You know, we just saw him and B-Dot. Not him and B-Dot. Him and A-Ward versus B-Dot and Geechee. Fire. Doing some innovative stuff. Crazy punches. All that. Don Marino's a workhorse. Does he have room to improve? Of course. Delivery can still be tightened up. Does have some good punches. We also have some punches where you're like, what are you doing, Don? Jay the Nightwing. All the potential in the world. Unique voice. Unique characteristics from a whole... I mean, he's black and Pacific Asian. Like, he looks different than everyone. Like, he can be something, but when that pressure gets to him, he seems to fold at times, which, hey, man, you're going to have to get that together. The potential is still there to become someone, and I don't think the league has given up on him also. And I think my man Gunpowder is getting the shit end of the stick sometimes. He's from my borough of Brooklyn, and am I being slightly Brooklyn biased? Maybe, but honestly, the man is dope. When he had that battle versus what's my man's name? He went crazy down at that the band Legacy joint. Gunpowder went ham. He had another battle. He had one slightly pause-worthy bar, and people did not want to forgive him for it. So I feel like he's been putting on dope performances his last couple of opportunities, but for some reason, it just seems like maybe the push isn't there. The support isn't there from the machine. I'd like to see what can happen if Gunpowder gets some more opportunities and the machine supports him. So I feel like there's some, and Bad News, sometimes Bad News looks really strong. Sometimes it looks like, dog, like, is this the same guy that I just saw battle? Like, he's kind of up and down with it. So I feel like this class is talented. They just haven't put it all together yet.
Yeah, that's a good take, Vlad. I have nothing else to add to it, honestly. That's a really good take. There's a lot of notable names that came out of this draft as well. Squeako, Robin Rhymes, Truffaut.
Give Gunpowder one of them volume app card battles or something, man. Like I really feel like,
but you know what,
they're sleeping on him, man.
We said this a long time ago when we first did our draft, and we were arguing, who do you take first, Don Marino or Gunpowder Pat? And it was a real interesting debate we had. My problem with Gunpowder Pat being first was that his style is very detail oriented in an aspect of matchmaking, where it's like only certain kind of styles can complement Gunpowder Pat, where they can create good collaborative battles together. And his ceiling wasn't going to be so high. Like the people you compare Gunpowder Pat to were like Goods, like Tech Nine, you know what I'm saying? And those guys didn't battle frequently neither. So Gunpowder Pat, if he's in that lane as up and coming guy, he's not going to battle frequently. Like what?
Yeah, but you still got to give him a chance. So I feel like what he did versus Your Honor, like he killed Your Honor, and he had a fire performance, and he had a viral moment in that battle. Also, we always talk about moments. Right? I feel like he went crazy in that battle.
I'm with you. I'm just giving you the breakdown.
I feel you, big dog. I feel you, player.
From the league's point of view, that's how I think they will look at it.
But now it's like, Yana's making Bleacher Reports. He's recruited for Dot Mob, and it's kind of like there's this little resurgence going back and people rooting for him all over again, which is dope. Like, I want everybody to do their thing, but it's like, let's keep focus here. Like, let's see, this dude is also doing crazy, and he demolished this cat. The other dude didn't even have 2 other rounds to go against him. And it's like, gotta give him a shot, man.
All right, let's close this off with the last year, 2019.
Let's go, player. 2019. What year you in, dog?
2019.
Straight from 2019. You in the RZA.
So 2019, URL PG class. Our top 5 picks from this class. You got to go with Zion, right? Ace Amin. You look crazy if you didn't pick him to go first. Swamp is part of this class. We have Real Sick in our top 5. We have Trufo, and we have Kid Chaos.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, Vlad, any disputes in Ace? No, right? You can't dispute it, right? There's
especially if you're staying in that time bubble. No, you can't really dispute that.
Yeah, the promise for him was so high. I mean, obviously he still can live up to it. Great. Little bit of turbulence, but
turbulent city for sure. But
hey, Zion has some turbulence too. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, it was called a knee injury, but once he got in the game, he's been. What more can you ask from Zion, son? Once Zion got past that knee surgery and the 300 pounds that he's put on from eating beignets, he's still going ham every game.
So can I make the same argument for Ace that once he got past his choking struggles, he's producing?
Did he get past it? It was one battle. It's one battle that he got past, dog. Like, we need to see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't get me wrong. He's got mad talent. He's got a unique delivery and a sense of believability that's through the roof. But remember when Chess was choking, battle after battle after battle, what did we say? Son's got to get it together. Then Chess had an amazing 2019, and he was the man. So one battle is not enough for me to say that he's pulled it all together. Once Zion came into the game, he ain't looked back. He's just been doing damage. Like, he's just been going crazy.
I feel like if you could retroactively change this, you will put Swamp or Real Sick above Ace. That's what you're trying to. That's what your tone sounds like to me.
I mean, if we're going by actual performance and not everything else that comes with what being a star is, then yes, you can. You feel me? But Ace Amin has certain intangibles, and there's nothing like being able to draw in an audience and keep people interested and to have that dynamic that, you know, some of the other guys just aren't putting in right now or just haven't managed to capture the folks right now. But if you're going skill for skill and being able to deliver your material, then yeah, of course you can make that argument.
What do you think of Trufo and Kid Chaos? So I've seen a lot of rumblings. People said, where's Jay Kruger? You know, where's Brooklyn Hands?
Yeah, that's my only thing. I rock with Trufo for sure. And
where's Dev the Demon?
And Kid Chaos is... You know, everyone's like, he's the new JC, he's dope. Me personally, I'm more of a Jay Kruger type fan. You know, I feel like Kruger gets to the point, unique punches, and just has like, he has kind of like this, I really don't care type delivery, but you know I'm serious about everything. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like, me personally, I was arguing for Jay Kruger, but you know, I got out-argued, everybody. So Kruger, if you're listening, I was rooting for you, playboy. But everyone up there, though, definitely is talented and definitely has created a buzz for themselves, which is where I think, you know, some of the separation comes in. And, you know, when you're picking from that year, it's the same thing with college basketball. Like, certain people create buzzes for themselves during the March Madness draft, and then it makes their placement, you know, their draft selection higher than another guy. So I feel like if Kruger was out here a little bit more and just interacting with the folks more, just creating that demand more, then he might be, you know, it might have been more of a consensus that he would have been in the top 5. But for me, he's definitely in that top 5.
A couple names that also got argued for. Piranha. That's a name that people were kind of like, hey, what's Piranha?
He was fire, yeah, he was fire.
Bankhead, which I was really shocked by. I'm like, oh, there's a couple Bankhead fans here.
Okay.
I'm not sure my draft board would have Bankhead going in the top.
Neither did I, player, but hey, you know.
I'm glad it was understood and got to be said.
Understood and got to be said.
LL Cool G got a lot of, hey, where's he at?
You know what? He's dope. He's dope. I can see the arguments for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of names that...
there's a lot of names you could argue for sure.
So,
I think with Kid Chaos and Trufo, I think you can argue some other guys in replacement of them, but at the same time, they've done enough to keep themselves in that top 5 also. Trufo's out here. He's out here crazy. Every time he gets a chance, he's putting on, he's performing, and he's creating that demand, and he's leading the new Midwest movement. All of this plays a part in where you get picked at.
You know what's special about this class, though, Vlad? That it seems like, all right, you remember when Jason Tatum's draft came into the game, and everybody was like, damn, all these guys are smart. Like, they kind of know how to behave. They know how to market. They know how to invest their money. Like,
right, yeah.
Like, how do these kids get all this knowledge? And it's kind of just like they're absorbing all the resources in front of them. They're learning from the people that made mistakes before them. They're taking advantage and listening to the people that's ahead of them. And they're actively communicating with people that, helps them broaden their horizons. Ace Amin went on an interview spree. Swamp went on an interview spree. Real sick. He just gets it. He went to a whole other country. He gets it. Kid Chaos and Truffaut are the same way. They're active on social media. So these guys are like, you know what? I'm skilled as fuck. I'm talented as fuck. And I know when it comes to betting on myself, I will bet on myself any day. But it's beyond just what I do lyrically and on the stage. It's everything else around it. And they get that.
Facts. I feel like these guys definitely are open to tutelage and also open to, constructive criticism from guys who have been there before. Not just from their peers, but guys who are solidified in this game. And they're like, yo, you know what? I'm going to take this knowledge in because they're where I want to be. And, aside from, I want to say Ace with the Fuck the Vets movement, everybody else is just kind of like, yo, you know what? Yeah, I'm here to learn. And I love the way Kid Chaos has been terrorizing JC every time he gets a chance to. He's like, listen.
You know there's nothing I love more than that.
Right. And it's like, yo, he's putting it out there. And as long as he keeps on performing and people want to compare you to JC, then yeah, keep calling him out. Keep antagonizing this cat because one time there's going to be a time where that battle's going to have to happen if you keep doing your thing. So, and it's not like he's just out there just trying to lure everyone into a battle because sometimes that could just look like, yo, you're doing too much at this point in time. But he's got laser focus on the guy who they're comparing him to, and he's creating his own storyline in a very smart way, I feel like. So I got to salute these cats.
You know what really – I love that you pointed that out, right, that he antagonizes JC every time he gets a chance. What makes this class special and probably one of my favorite classes – I'm not going to say the best, but one of my favorite is the fact that, like, they're actively kind of building their journey as who they are as a battler. So right. they reach a certain goal, and it's like, oh, I remember when you were working towards that goal. Like, Ace now just disbanded from the Goonies, and so now we're extremely interested to see if Ace takes the mogul route and, like, goes on, like, King of the RBE. He climbs the URL ladder and gets a lot of these solid names. Swamp has already made it clear that T-Top is, like, not the end goal, but is a goal, right? Yeah. Kid Chaos has made it clear that JC is a goal, you know. Truffaut has made it clear that I want to put the Midwest back on my back.
Yep. So these guys are all creating their own narratives, man.
Real six. My favorite thing is, like you always say, untapped market, untapped fan base, and more importantly, something that doesn't get talked about. He has a high ceiling as a puncher. You could probably eventually pin this guy against somebody if he just keeps getting better and better.
What I love is that he's battling in front of diverse crowds. Every time he can go to a URL setting, kill it. He can go to iBattle setting, kill it. KOTD setting, kill it. Go to Premier Battles, kill it. In front of different crowds. So by the time you throw him in front of a big-ass crowd, it's like, yo, I can go anywhere and do my thing. And he's not compromising his style either. So he gets it, man. Dope style. Always has a dope delivery. Always remembers his content. Always delivers. So he just gets it, dog.
Yeah, no, this entire class just gets it. And even some of the guys that got left off of this year, right? 2019, Saint did a PG out in the West, right? Obviously,
but they weren't dropping his battles, though, so we can't.
Granted, but no, I'm not including him. But if he was be a part of this class,
he gets it too. He
gets it. You know who else is part of this class? Vlad Vixen, who did her PG out there out in your too. She gets it. You know, Piranha, even though he fell back for a little bit, he gets it. Dev the Demon, he gets it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I can go on. There's a ton of names that just understand what they have to kind of do as an artist. And
Yes, sir.
at that moment, it just becomes the supply and demand. If people are requesting you that much, Rubando, Skates, a couple other guys.
Yeah.
Solid class, man.
Yeah, man. Solid class, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what the 2019 class does for 2020 and 2021, man. It's going to be interesting. And
Listen, man, we're going to do another PG guide episode in the near future. We'll go through every year, probably give it a solid 15, 20 minutes and break it up to make it into a bunch of mini series. People want to deep dive into it. And Vlad, overall, I want to do something very fun with you.
What's up, player?
I want to create an all-time PG draft.
Ooh.
All the eras, all the class. Who you taking in the top 5?
Oh, man, we got to get the whole band together for that joint, man. That's crazy.
That one is going to be interesting because there are going to be so many people from so many different years that you group up. And I just have one question to ask.
What's up?
Is John Dodonna lock for number 1?
I think he has to be. But for the sake of the episode, for the sake of the suspense,
Is there a world where if you had to draft any of these guys number 1, you could take T-Top over, you take Twerk over him, or Geechee over him, take Chess over him?
We're gonna have to wait and see until we drop that episode play.
It will. I'm just throwing these names out. Are these names that are worthy of going over John number 1?
Better yet, that's for these degenerates who are listening right now to decide. And they're going to have to hit us up and let us know what they think. That's what I want to know. Who do you guys think? Who would you draft number 1 overall throughout all the years of the PGs? Hit us up, all right? You can email us at letstalkbattlerap@gmail.com, or if you're listening on Apple, leave us a comment while you're leaving us a 5-star rating. If you're on Spotify, holla at your boys. Let us know. If you're following on Twitter at LTBR Podcast, drop a line. Let us know who you would pick at number 1. Or holla at me at Program V on Twitter and Instagram and let me know. Let the dogs know who you would pick number 1 all-time PGs, man. On that note, friends, I got like 2% left on my phone, playboy. Yo, this has been amazing, man. I can't wait till we do the overall draft. It's going to get crazy. It's going to get spicy, man. So salute to everyone for tuning in. Until next time, peace.